Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Dear students, welcome to our class. So, inshallah, today we'll be doing a revision of chapter 22. Since chapter 22 is a big chapter, so after completing, we will go through a little revision so that inshallah you'll get the overall idea of the complete lesson. Inshallah, it will be helpful for your revision. So in this lesson, you know that we saw about the nutrition, then transportation, how the nutrition is transported to the different parts of our body, and then we also saw about respiration and excretion. Okay, so in the nutrition part, we saw that why we need food. Okay, so we need food because we need to have some energy. So without food we'll be exhausted, so we need energy, and our body cells need energy to function. Okay, so food gives energy for all the processes which I mentioned, and also for cells proper function we need food. Okay, and also for production of important chemicals like enzymes and hormones in the body we need to eat food. So nutrition is basically uh, living beings uh, obtain food and change that food into simple absorbable forms, and further that will be converted into substances needed by your body. Okay, like hormones, enzymes, or energy. So that process called as nutrition. And there is autotrophic nutrition, that is like plants, they produce their own food from photosynthesis. Then heterotrophic, they are dependent upon other plants and animals. Okay, and then you have holozoic nutrition, in which amoeba, they ingest the food, take the food completely. Okay, and then you have parasitic. Parasitic is basically they live on other living organisms and take the energy. And saprotrophic is they take out the energy from the dead and decaying organisms. Okay, and the next one is nutrition in plants. We saw about photosynthesis, why photosynthesis is a uh, role, I mean vital process in plants for their food production. And we saw essential elements for photosynthesis like chlorophyll, which is a green pigment, and sunlight and carbon dioxide and water. And in the photosynthesis plant will get food. Okay, and the mechanisms of photosynthesis, we saw that. Okay, light reaction, dark reaction, all these things. And then we saw the importance of photosynthesis. Why is photosynthesis very important? Because plants produce their food by photosynthesis process, and other animals are dependent upon that. Okay, because they eat plants, right? And if they are like carnivores or omnivores, then they eat animals that eat plants. So photosynthesis is the main process in which nutrition is passed to different organisms. Then we saw about nutrition in humans. We saw about carbohydrates and fats, they are energy yielding. Then you have bodybuilding nutrients, proteins, and there are some growth regulating nutrients like vitamins and minerals. We saw everything, all of this in detail. Okay, so if you have any doubt, you go through the videos, inshallah. Or if you have any doubts, you can also ask me. And then we saw about balanced diet, so how we have to take proper diet without, I mean with proper nutrition in it, like balanced diet, carbohydrates, fats, and protein. So if you do not take that, then we'll have malnutrition. Then we saw about digestion. So in human beings, there is digestion happens. Okay, we eat the food and it has to be digested, and what enzymes are involved in it, so that comes under digestion. Then there are some process involved in nutrition, like ingestion, we take the food, and then further that is digested. There are organs that are related to it, like mouth, we take food, esophagus. Okay, this is gullet, it pushes the food inside our body, and stomach, small intestine, and what happens in stomach and small intestine, and then we saw about pancreatic juice. Okay, all of this you have to study well. This chapter is very important. You have to study every topic. As I told before, as I have told before that while you study the topics headings, okay, then you study the overview, I mean general definition of that particular topic, okay. So wherever you see block letters like this, okay, whether it is in red color or black color, blocked letters, then that is important, okay, like this. See here you have, okay. So then absorption, how the digested food are taken into the all cells, and assimilations and egestion, that is egestion is the excretion, okay. And then if you don't take proper nutrition, then we will have deficiency diseases. So then we saw many deficiency diseases like protein energy malnutrition, and under that you have marasmus and kwashiorkor. Then you have mineral deficiency diseases like goiter and anemia caused by some minerals deficiency. And then vitamin deficiency, that table is there, you can see before. And food adulteration, how in food they add fake materials, okay. And this table is important, you have to remember. For example, what they add for milk, like they add starch, water, like that, okay. Then transportation, how the food, the digested food is distributed throughout our body. In the transport of materials in plants, we saw about transport of water. Then we saw about xylem and phloem. Xylem is used for conduction of water, and phloem is conduction of food. These are two tissues in plants. Then we saw the transport of food material, okay. Then their translocation process happens, that is the food is transported from leaves to the other parts of the plants, because photosynthesis happens in the leaves. So then we saw about transportation in human beings. We have heart, blood vessels, and we saw in detail about the heart, okay. The topic heart you have to study well, okay. Then we saw about electrocardiogram. It's a device that is used for measuring the heartbeat, okay. Then we saw about this the blood circulation, okay, in a detailed manner. And then we saw about blood pressure, pulse rate, everything, okay. Then we saw in detail about circulatory medium, like blood you have lymph. In the blood you have R blood, red blood cells, white blood cells, blood platelets, all these things. Then this important topic, that is blood groups and blood transfusion. We saw about that O blood group is the universal donor, why it's universal donor, and AB is universal recipient, why it's universal recipient. We saw that. Then we went on to lymphatic system, uh, and what is lymphatic system, we explained that. And there are some disorders related to circulatory system like heart attack, anemia, that is when the hemoglobin level falls down, then that disease is called as anemia. Then leukemia, hypertension, all these things we covered. And this, then we moved on to respiration, okay. How respiration happens in plants. We saw how the stomata opening and closing happens because of this cells, turgid guard cell present, okay. And then we saw breathing and respiration in humans. We saw the difference between breathing and respiration. Breathing is a physical process, while respiration is oxidation of food and release of energy in the cells, okay. And then we saw about respiratory system, like this whole respiratory system we saw in detail, okay. And then we saw about the mechanism of breathing and ventilation of lungs, like inhalation, what is inhalation, how we inhale the air and what happens. Then exhalation, we exhale the carbon dioxide out, and what happens during that. All the thing we covered in detail. And we saw inside that in detail about alveoli functions here and by explaining with this diagram, okay, how the gases exchange happens in alveolus. Oxygen and carbon dioxide exchange happens in the alveolus. Then we saw about cellular respiration, that is oxidation of the food, okay. Then finally we came to excretion. We saw in detail about the kidney, human excretory system, okay, how urine is formed and what happens during that process. Then we saw the structural and functional unit of kidney. You have to remember that nephron is the structural and functional unit of kidney, while neuron is the function unit of brain. Then we saw the mechanism of excretion, and we saw the nephron in detail, how the excretion happens in this process, okay, how the kidney functions. Then there are some other organs that remove the waste from our body, like skin. It removes excess heat, and lungs, carbon dioxide is removed through that, okay. All these things we saw. And then what happens if kidney is not functioning? One kidney is not functioning, other kidney uh, will be enough. But if two kidneys are not functioning, then there need to be some other alternative, like dialysis, that is artificial kidney, or kidney transplant. If there is any suitable kidney that can be given from another person, it is suitable to the recipient, then kidney transplant can be done, okay. Or this is the process we saw about dialysis, how the blood is purified by artificial kidney dialysis process, okay. And finally I gave uh, the homework. You have to write down what you have learned. Please send me within 1 week, inshallah, and also write the answers for all the questions mentioned at the end of the lesson. This chapter is it took us, I think, around 10 parts, okay, 10 classes to complete this, because it's very big lesson. Please don't be scared. Study one by one and do revision, proper revision, so that you don't forget things, inshallah. See you in the next class. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.